Okay, so we are delighted to welcome someone we know very well and someone we've talked about a lot on the podcast. You have come up a lot, Sally, actually.
Oh, right, oh, crikey.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good stuff.
Apart from that one time, that was quite bad. That was quite
Well, I'm delighted to be here, thank you.
Thanks for
Um,
coming.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming. It's wonderful to have you here, and nice to interview a fellow countrywoman. Can I
From
say that?
Wales, yeah.
From Wales. I'm allowed to say that, aren't I? Yes, hooray. So, I thought what would be a good way to kick this off today would be for you to give us a brief history of Sally Bradbury. We have already read your bio out, but your bio is quite short. You have got the most criminally short biography of anyone that we've had, considering that we know you. We think it needs fleshing out a little bit. So could you enlighten our listeners as to how you got into the world of dogs, and just a bit about you and how you became, owner of Scallywags and all of this gubbins.
Oh, crikey. Well, I guess it started in the 1950s when I was a child, and my dad brought me home a puppy, and my mum said, "Hey, you haven't even built a kennel yet." And anyway, I took the puppy to bed with me, and that's kind of where it all started. And then at school, the careers advice was do your shorthand and your typing and learn to be a good secretary. And I said, no, I'm going to work in a dog kennels. That's what I want to do. I got a job in a boarding kennels when I was 14. And when I left school, I got a job working for the RSPCA kennels. And crikey, it kind of went from there. My husband always used to tell people that he got me from the RSPCA, where I was working when we met. I worked in London for a little while, training as a dog groomer, and that was a very nice job, and I could have stayed there. But then I had to make a choice between my job or Don, and love conquers all. So we got married, we had a baby, we got a dog, and I kept nagging him to take the dog to dog training. It was a German Shepherd called Georgie. And he never got around to it. So in the end, I did. And that was before I could even drive. So I used to get on a bus to go to dog training classes. And that was at the hall where you first started in...
Oh, the Merrick one.
So I used to go dog training there. And then...
probably the same carpet.
Probably, yeah.
Do you remember that carpet?
Yeah. I do remember that carpet.
So that was all very old school stuff. Crikey. So then what happened? So we got a second dog, we got a third dog, we started doing a bit of obedience, and then we got into agility when it very, very first started. And I think the way I got into teaching at dog training was that there were two instructors there. And they had a row, they fell out, and they both walked out, and then everybody turned up to do the classes, and there was nobody to take them. So I think I stepped in and took the classes.
Just went for it.
What, two dog trainers arguing? Don't believe you.
I can actually remember what the argument was about. One was the head dog trainer, one was not the head dog trainer. They both went on a course. They both passed, but the one that wasn't the head dog trainer got more marks than the one that was.
Oh, that'll do it. That will do it.
I won't mention where they went to. Yeah, and then very, very gradually over the years, we rejected all of the old school stuff. We crossed over. It wasn't a sudden thing. It was just very gradual, as did a lot of people in that day and age. God,
Yeah.
I sound old, don't I?
No, you sound experienced.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was going to say wise.
Wise is good as well.
Yeah. And then there came a point where, you know, the old dog training club actually became more of a commitment. And so we decided to go for it and make it into more of a business so that I could give up my job and earn money from it, which was very, very frowned upon back in the day.
Really?
Very on, yeah. Dog trainers were all volunteers who gave their time and charged 50p for a lesson. Or even 10 shillings, I don't know, it might have been that long ago.
Wow.
And, yeah, but then there was no looking back. We started Scallywag School for Dogs and kind of went from strength to strength, really.
It's an amazing story. So was Don, by this point, Don had got into the training side of things with you as well?
He worked his own dog in agility and obedience, but he wasn't into teaching other people. And not until we got much further into agility. And then he did really well. The next dog we got, number 4, was my dog, Kizzy, also a German Shepherd. And she was supposed to be my dog for agility, but she chose him, if you like.
Yep.
And he decided to run her one day in agility and qualified for Olympia. That was it.
Wow.
Nicked your dog.
So, yeah.
Was it his ridiculously high voice that sealed the deal for Kizzy? Because I remember some of my fondest memory. I've got loads of fond memories of Scallywags, but I remember, like, you know, being half a mile away from your house and hearing Don in agility. And I actually, I adopted. You take things from every person that you ever like meet or anyone that you admire, and you know ways people say things. What I took from Don was that stupid high voice thing. That's what I came away with.
He always used to tell people to be exciting. That was it. You have to be exciting. You have to be to motivate your dog. Yeah, he wasn't very tolerant of people that were miserable, I think. Yeah.
I don't remember him being very tolerant of me not knowing my left or right either.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was very common. In fact, I think I once knitted somebody a pair of gloves with the L and R on them. That was terrible. In agility, that was it. And nobody knew that left from the right. So, but yeah.
Guilty.
So how long before you started? So when you started school, it was just you and Don, was it? Or did you employ?
No. I started. John was working full time as a builder. Okay. He was very, very much in demand doing building work. No, it was my daughter Kerry.
Yep.
And another friend who will remain nameless, who also. So there were 3 of us in the partnership.
Right. Okay.
She was also an instructor there, but yeah. Then it ended up with just me in the end because the other 2 went their separate ways. Well, Kerry got married, so that was fair enough. And she had to follow her husband to Scotland. But prior to that, Kerry had worked for Hearing Dogs for the Deaf as a trainer. And she'd worked there for, I think, 7 years as a hearing dog trainer. And they wanted to promote her, but it would be just not being involved with the training so much. It would be more the looking after deaf people with their dogs and stuff, whereas she enjoyed the training. So she wanted to find another job. And so we decided to go in together and make Scallywags our business, if you like. So, yeah, we didn't earn loads of money, but...
And then you started attracting all the waifs and strays like me and Nat.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you meant the 4-legged kind, but yeah, there were a few 2-legged.
it's interesting you tell that story about how you started doing classes, because I had a similar experience. I was shadowing you for quite some time, I think, at Merry Oak.
You stuck with it. Yeah, you certainly
Yeah,
did.
I used to sit up on that little. If anyone can imagine a sort of an old community hall that had a little stage at the back, didn't it? And I used to sit up at the stage. I had my little notebook, and I used to. My job was to try and just look at everyone and take down little interesting things about what people were doing with their dogs, and then report to you at the end of it, just in case there was something I saw that you may have missed. And then I remember one day I got a phone call from you just going, yeah, I'm not doing the classes anymore. Do you want them? And I was like, yeah, why not? And I was like, yeah, why not? And I remember asking, when? From when? And you were like, yeah, what, this week? I was like, okay. And I remember being so scared. Like, that's one of those moments in my life that I think is a defining moment in my life, because I've been up to that point. I've been in a band, so I was quite used to getting up and playing in front of people, but never doing anything on my own, like in front of people. And I really truly believe that it's worse when it's like a gang of like just maybe 5 to 10 people. I think it's worse because if it's more people, you can kind of like look around and it seems a bit abstract. But when it's that amount of people looking at you, looking to hang off your every word, if you're coaching them or teaching them, it was so terrifying, so terrifying. I can remember shaking before the class, getting through it. Like I thought I got through it okay, but yeah, that was a real baptism of fire. I had no sort of like no kind of easy way in. But I'm forever grateful for that. I wouldn't advise it for anyone else, but
That's how to do it.
I shadowed you and your classes there then for a long time afterwards, but I always remember the briefcase that you used to carry. I guess was Sally's once and then was yours.
Yeah, it's a bit like the what people have for the budget.
Yeah.
But a black version. Yeah, I remember that.
Each venue had a briefcase in the office, didn't they?
Yeah.
And way beside you if you didn't keep it tidy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just glad no one looked in the one that I had.
We'd all be wandering in on a Saturday morning with our briefcases with like all the cash and the notes. So we're all in like t-shirt and shorts and a briefcase.
I've still got the folder. I've still got the folder with all the class plans in it.
I probably still got it all as well somewhere.
Yeah, they were great days, and the training school. So what about Nat? Where did you come into this then, Nat?
I was a punter first, so I went to the Blue Cross to adopt Jack, and Tasha, who still works there now, she said, if you're going to go anywhere, go to Scallywags. So I phoned up Sally. I remember speaking to Sally because I remember you saying that Jack was a really good name for agility because it was short and sharp and I'd be able to say it quickly. And yeah, went along. Then I started shadowing Joe. Then I started taking classes. Sally actually came to one of my puppy classes with Moss.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Yeah. Oh God, I was nervous then. I think it was Moss. Pretty sure it was Moss.
No, it couldn't have been because it would have been an older dog than that, I think.
Do you think?
There's nothing more terrifying than another trainer coming to your classes, even if it's someone you know really well. There's like that's terrible. That's a terrible situation. Nat always used to come to our puppy classes.
Sorry.
Like, why? Just go away.
I do remember going to your puppy class with one of my puppies.
Maybe it was Billy.
I can't remember.
Maybe it was Billy.
No, it would have been an older dog then. But I do remember I went incognito. Nobody knew who I was. But I do remember that during the lesson, because I had a border collie, I think I clicker trained my dog with just not using a clicker, but with a yes. I clicker trained my puppy to pick up the tub of treats, give it to me, and get a treat. And I realised that whilst I was doing this, and I was still watching you and listening to you now and doing as I was told, but I realised that few people were looking at me as much as to say, look what that woman is doing. She's her dog a really bad habit. I was keeping my dog busy, and forever after that, whoever it was, and I wish I could remember which dog it was. I don't know. Who was it? I can't remember. Was it Ayla? It may have been Ayla. I don't know. Anyway.
Maybe. I can't remember now. I was obviously strucken by fear. No, you weren't. It was lovely to have you there, but you want to do a good job for your boss, don't you? And someone you respect, and I wanted you to come and be like, yeah, that's doing all right.
I think I did tell you were doing all right, didn't I?
I hope so. Yeah, I mean, I don't remember crying or leaving, so.
So, how did the conversation start between you and Sally and this book then?
Well, we were talking about this for many years before we even started writing.
We were not very good at getting around to starting, were we?
No. I do think it probably was a couple of years, but I remember having a conversation. I can't honestly remember who. I think we both mentioned at one point that we were interested in doing a children's book. I think we both.
You said, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I remember you saying you wanted to write a children's book about dogs, and I think I said, I've got a story in my head and it's been there for a very long time. And then we combined those two thoughts, and then we sat back for a few years and didn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
I think I poked a lot. I was like, I've read this on this printout of A4 piece of paper now, and all these bits and bobs, like about 12 times. I was like, I think it might be ready.
There was this beautiful moment, like a good couple of months, where we'd meet every now and again, or I'd come around to your house and we'd bounce ideas around. You'd correct a lot of my spelling and grammar. That's when I realised how bad I was at spelling and grammar, actually. And the idea was formulating, and we were bouncing. It was a really nice process, the actual writing part of it. There was never any disagreements or anything, was there? I don't think.
No, I don't think so. Apart from when you wanted to take my photograph, and I disagreed with that.
We've always had trouble with that one. And I also got to revisit drawing again, because I kind of stopped drawing for a long time. If I hadn't become a dog trainer or a rock star, then I would have definitely been a comic book artist. That was the thing I wanted to be when I was a kid. And this gave me a perfect opportunity to illustrate the ideas that we were coming up with. And I remember I think I did all the drawings in 1 week in the end. I was doing a dog sitting job out near where you were, actually, out in Droxford. And I just had time on my hands. And so I was like, I'm going to go for it. And I just started, and it all just spewed out of my hands and my brain. And it was really, really nice to revisit that. But yeah, I was very, very proud of the outcome of the book. It seemed it was received well. We've talked, haven't we, a bit about going in and readjusting or re-releasing in some ways.
We are going to do a version 2, aren't we, or edition 2 at some point? Yeah,
second edition.
Second edition. That's it.
Yeah, and probably publish it ourselves this time. But
I think so. Yeah.
But yeah, what a wonderful experience. And I know the girls were saying that I don't talk about it a lot on the podcast. I mean, we did have an advert. I made a snazzy advert for it that ran for about the first 100 episodes that was on it. But yeah, I'd really like to do that second edition. I'd really like to delve in. Just need to find the time to do it.
We do need to find the time. We will find the time in a few years' time. No, we will find the time soon.
There's not much. I mean, I read through the other day. There's not much. I think personally that I would change. A few little bits here and there, a couple of the pictures maybe. But yeah, it'd be interesting to dive in and see where we can make improvements and get it back out there again.
Definitely. I've already told Don, I did actually say after Christmas, then I'm doing writing again for a while, and I'm not going to do any more painting or decorating or gardening. I'm not quite sure if I get away with all of that, but because we also want to do a second book from the Great Dog Training and Behaviour Solutions. We want to do a second keep asking us for another one.
Well, let's have a little dive into that then. So let's talk about so obviously we've talked about, you know, the scallywags portion of your life, and you moved to Wales, sold the business, moved to Wales, and then was it you that started the dog training advice and support group?
I was with a group of just a bunch of online friends that we all met because we were a bit geeky about force-free training. I don't think it was even called force-free then, but we were certainly, you know, all in favour of positive reinforcement training for dogs. And it was in the very early days of Facebook groups. And gosh, I think there was some awful advice, and there still is, but we all, I think, kind of met, and because we were the ones that were always giving alternative advice to people who asked for advice for their dogs or puppies, and we were giving the kind advice, but mostly the admins didn't like what we did because we were contradicting them. Just got chucked off the groups constantly. We were chucked off of groups and banned from groups. So yeah, we started our own, and we called it Dog Training Advice and Support, and that was in February of 2012, 12 years ago. And it just started off as a normal group for advice, and it has certainly developed into something a little bit more unique now. It's very popular and held in high regard, I think, by most of our members. And it's slightly different from all groups in as much as all the advice comes from the professional admin in the group. And that's what makes it so unique and what makes it so popular as well, I think.
So just the average Joe can't come on and be like, yeah, this is what I think about what that person said.
No, well, they can do it all they like, and you just hit the delete button. So,
so that must be quite an epic job to manage, really. You might not consider it a job.
It is, yeah. It is. We're very, very strict. We have very strict ethics, very strict rules, and we upset the occasional person, but more often than not, people are very, very grateful, and we are recommended because you won't get every Tom, Dick, and Harry telling you what to do with your puppy. You will only get the professional advice. So yeah, it is very popular for that reason.
Yeah, I learned so much from that group when it started, and from you on the. I mean, prior to that, you were doing the same sort of stuff, but on the Scallywags forum. Do you remember that forum?
I was, yeah. We had a little forum on Scallywags. Yeah, we did. Yeah.
So,
I was called Shadow Man on that forum.
Oh, were you?
Yes. I remember.
Yeah. What was I called? I was just called Sally, I think.
The boss, governor.
The boss.
Yeah, I just and one of the things that I mean, I don't know because I wasn't on many other Facebook groups or anything at the time, but where did the idea of the sort of articles come from? Because I guess that was the impetus for eventually what became.
Know, when somebody says, how do I toilet train my puppy? And you tell them how, you write it all down and explain it. And then the next day, 3 more people ask you the same question.
Yep.
And we found more and more that we were copying and pasting. And then actually the toilet training article was from the Scallywags information. So that was older than the group, to be fair, as were a couple of other things, I think, possibly. But mostly we started putting our answers into proper formats as articles. And currently in the guides now, I think we've got over 230 articles.
Wow.
And so we put them in a book. Hey ho.
Yeah. And where did the idea of the book come from? Who's was that?
It was from the members, actually. The members just kept saying, why don't you write a book? Why don't you write a book? I haven't got time to write a book. But you've already got one. It's all in the book. But it wasn't quite as easy as just publishing all our guides in the book. It was we got a professional editor, because our grammar was not. It's better than yours, but it wasn't.
Burn.
There was so much gusto to that laugh there.
Yeah. Been building up to that.
So yeah, we got a professional editor, and yeah, I mean, it was hard work to do it all, but we did it. Yeah.
And when did that come out?
We published it in May 22, so just over 2 years now, but it hasn't left the top 100, or it hasn't even left the top 20 in behaviour science
Wow.
category. So we're very pleased. It remains a bestseller, so that we're happy with that.
It's great.
What a wonderful, huge achievement.
So Emma Judson, who's a PAC member, she collaborated with you on that one, didn't she?
Yes, she
Anybody
did
else?
all the artwork in that. She, so all the pictures are hers, as is our logo. Our logo here on my shirt, probably not. Yeah,
Oh, yes,
yeah.
That's our logo. Do you know who that is?
Is that Rafe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Rafey boy.
Yeah. So she did all the artwork and wrote a lot of the articles. I wrote a lot of the articles. A few other admin wrote articles for it as well. Jo Macy, she did all the putting it together and the extra bit of editing after the professional editor had given it all back. It was a real collaboration from everybody, so it was good.
Have any publishers reached out to you in terms of the second version, or are you going to?
No, we will self-publish. Yeah, we will self-publish, but we did have a publisher ask us to do the audio version, the audio book, and that has been done by professional audio folk.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah,
very nice.
Yeah.
I think I'd love to read an audiobook one day. Again, I've got no time to do it, in fairness, but I would love to read an audiobook. So I might just write a book so I can read it.
Didn't you tell Sally you would do that?
You can do the Jack and Billy second edition. You must do that as an audio.
Yeah, definitely.
I get to do the voices and everything. That would be great.
Yeah,
that would be good fun.
So,
I know. I think I did talk about. We had a brief conversation about doing the dog training advice book. But
we did.
Emma Johnson wanted Colin Farrell or someone, didn't she? Some handsome man.
Yeah, I'm not sure who she wanted, but we didn't get whoever she wanted. That's it. Yeah.
So, okay, let's go back a little bit in time. Anyone that's not been a member of the Dog Training Advice and Support Group, or indeed got your book, they need to go out there and get it. First of all, keep it up there, because there's other books out there that don't deserve to be in the top 20. It's always quite interesting to look at the frequently bought together books on Amazon, and you're like, how can someone who buys that book then buy that book? But anyway, that's a thing for another time.
That's weird. I would like to ask them, how did they compare? Because they're so polar opposites, some of the books that are bought. I just thought Amazon just made that up. If you buy this book, they also bought that book. I thought surely nobody buys that book if they bought ours. But
we all know what that book is as well, don't we?
Yeah.
I think that book ends up on the shelf and then hidden by many, many trainers when they end up in the presence of that.
Yeah, there's loads of great volunteers going out there into Waterstones across the country, hiding books, putting them in.
Yeah,
putting them in the
I've got a
fiction
Susan Milan book in true crime section.
Amazing.
More accurate cataloguing.
So what when you run the dog training school, when you ran Scallywags, one of the things that's come up a lot recently in conversations that I've had with other people, other trainers, is this idea of community. And I think because we had a really nice community going at Scallywags, like there was always people you could talk to. There's always, if you didn't know the answer to something, there was always someone that you could tap on the shoulder and be like, oh, hey, I'm not quite sure what's going on there. It was a wonderful, wonderful place. I mean, and again, a bit like Nat, it was only by chance really that I stumbled across you guys. I thought you fostered a really, really nice atmosphere at Scallywags. Was that intentional, or was it just something that kind of came along for the ride? What do you remember about that?
Oh gosh, that's a question. Well, I guess it was intentional. Yeah, I mean, I'm always try to be very, very empathetic with people and dogs. Not so much with my employees, I think, but no.
You were always lovely. Sometimes blunt, but always lovely.
Yeah, blunt. That was it. Yeah, that was the word. But yeah, and I still do that now when I give people advice online. I try to be as patient and understanding and nice as I possibly can. Some advice, that you get online is really very, very judgmental. And I'm not saying I've never been accused of being judgmental, because sometimes you just have to ask somebody just to put the shock collar in the bin, and then that is judged as being judgmental. But we try very hard to be professional and remain professional, which is why my admin team, I wouldn't just have any old person as an admin, because they've got to be, we've all got to be singing from the same hymn sheet. We've all got to be sympathetic and kind, and also have all the knowledge as well. As much as I'd like to possibly employ a few more, well, not even employ, sorry, it's not a job. Get some more help with the admin. The ones that we've got at the moment are just perfect. And so if they're watching this or listening to this later, thank you guys.
We were saying earlier on that we did a Nat. I think you as well.
I think I've answered about 2.
We all did a brief stint as admins. Mine was very brief. I think Corin's maybe briefer, but it was a lot of work, because the weight of responsibility as well. I think there's all these people, and you know how wide potentially the advice you're giving out is going to be received as well, and that's quite a lot of pressure.
Have you got a Patreon page where people can donate for all of this wonderful time you're doing?
We haven't. No, we haven't. But we do have premium groups, and there is a fee to join, and then that just mainly pays for things like the website, but also the admins do get pocket money. Not a lot. It is literally pocket money, but it's just a little bit of a reward to thank them for all their effort.
So
time that they put in. Yeah.
So, okay. Agility. I wanted to talk a little bit about agility. What was it about agility that really drew you to it when you started out?
I think we used to go to exemption shows. Do they still do exemption shows? I don't know. But we used to go to exemption shows and compete in obedience with our first German Shepherds. And this was the very, very early days of agility. And we were at this show, and I think they did a high jump competition. And it was like a knockout. And, you would put your dog over a jump, and if you didn't knock it down, you were through to the next round. And I think I won that with my German Shepherd. I can't remember how high she jumped. It would be considered very unethical to make your dog jump that high these days. But it was put on by somebody, I think, who wanted to start doing agility. And then, gosh, I don't know. I think then I know. And then there was a riding school, indoor riding school, kind of picked up on this dogs jumping over jumps thing. And then you could spend the evening, and you could go along, and you could pay 50p, and you could run your dog around the horse jumps and win a rosette. And I think we got banned from there in the end because we just won everything. So, and they said, this is for pet dogs. I said, well, our dogs are pet dogs. But of course, by then we'd started training them to do agility.
Right.
And then proper competition started. In the days when there were like 30 dogs in a class, the first round wasn't timed, and all the clear rounds ran off against the clock. That's how long ago it was. And agility very much grew. It was the fastest growing dog sport, probably still is. And we were doing it all the way up until the pandemic, and then obviously we had to stop, as everybody did, and that's when we called it a day. So yeah, we miss it, and the dogs still do play with it because although it's not our equipment anymore, we sold it. We sold all our equipment, but the person we sold it to still leaves it on our land, so we still play.
That's a win-win, that is.
Yeah.
So, and in terms of, I mean, you talked about like crossing over in inverted commas, but it was a gradual process. I think it's that idea of like, when you know better, you do better, isn't it? Back in those days, and this was the very start of everything. So, what are your thoughts now when you're seeing things kind of, I don't want to use the term cross back over the other way again, but we talk a lot about these pendulums swinging and that. So coming from that background, being so successful as you've been, having the dog training advice and support group, how has the sort of rise of more balanced dog training affected what you do? Does it affect what you do? What your
No, it doesn't affect what I do at all. I'll be absolutely honest, I don't even try and get involved. And the only reason I know about all this, whatever is going on between the trainer wars, the only reason I know is by seeing the odd bit of people, who are in our circle, saying about it. I don't get involved. I used to, there was a long time before Facebook, I used to be on a dog forum, and I used to spend ridiculous amounts of time arguing with shock collar trainers. They would say, oh, your dog is going to run out into the road, you haven't got any treats in your pocket, what are you going to do? And I would say, well, what if your battery runs out on your remote? Same answer, really.
Yeah.
But you could never win, and they were extremely rude, and I just can't be doing with that anymore. So I'm not aware of a lot of what's going on. I just keep doing what we're doing, really, and hopefully I'm going to steal a quote from Cesar Millan: "Changing the world one dog at a time."
There you go.
We've
I'm not changing it the way he wants to.
Yeah, take it and use it for good.
We've talked a lot about activism on a few of the previous episodes recently, and I would say that you fall into that area. I think that you are an activist online for the good of the dogs.
Oh, yeah, I probably am. I am. I certainly. I will promote kind, force-free, ethical training all the time, and nobody will convince me otherwise. There is certainly, I can't understand why people want to use pain to train or stress the dogs out. And I was talking to a lady this morning online whose family are pressurizing her to be firmer with her puppy because he's biting. Be firmer in leaving him alone because he's constantly wants to be with her. And I think from her answer, I have persuaded her that what she is trying to do by following our advice is the right way to go about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I gave her an example of two dogs. I've had a lot of rescue dogs, but two dogs in particular that I took on. Both came to me because their puppy biting was not tolerated and they weren't able to deal with it. You remember Monty?
Yep.
He was the worst puppy biter ever, but I took him on I think about 12 weeks from his family because he was biting the children in play and they couldn't cope with him. So I took him on. And he really was very, very, very bitey as a puppy. But as you know, he turned into the most wonderful, wonderful dog ever.
Oh, he's a legend, that dog.
He was a legend.
Was he a lurcher cross? He was a cross.
He was a lurcher, yeah. The only reason I took him on, well, when they phoned me up and they said, oh, we bought a border collie and he's biting the children. So why was he a border collie? But they bought him as a anyway. So I ended up with a lurcher. And then the other one was Chip. You remember Chip?
I remember Chip.
Yeah. And Chip.
I was scared of Chip.
But Chip's owners, you were scared of him.
Well, I get that. There was a really funny moment. Like I wasn't scared of him. I was scared of the idea of Chip because everyone was Chip, Chip.
Yeah.
And I remember once you came out with all the dogs. You know, I used to do like odds and sods around on the odd day around the training venue, and you came out with all the dogs, and then you're like, I think you said something like, "Oh, I've got to take a quick phone call. Do you mind like looking after all the dogs?" So I'm like playing around with the doggies. They're all out, and there was one border collie that just wouldn't leave me alone, and I was throwing the ball and I had I think we had little. No, it's Tuggy. We were playing Tuggy, and I don't know, 10, 15 minutes went past. And then you came out, and I was still playing. I think I was talking to you while still playing Tuggy. And I was like, "Oh, where's Chip then?" And you went, well, "He's there." And I was thinking, "Oh Christ!" He was lovely. Chip was absolutely.
He was, but as you know,
preceded him.
Yeah, he was quite a scary dog, and so the reason he was because again he was in a home and he was puppy biting, and they dealt with it with punishment. And he actually turned into biting for real, which is why we took him on. So he could never, ever be trusted around children, ever. He would bite. He was so scared of children because the children in his home mirrored what the parents did when he bit. And consequently, he couldn't be around children. So whenever we had the grandchildren over, Chip was locked away with the key in my back pocket.
Yeah.
And we had to do that.
Steve skipped over talking about Jack and Billy quite quickly, which is classic Steve. But what you're talking about here is basically the premise of the storybook, isn't it? The puppy that starts off in a family where they're not quite getting things quite right.
Yeah.
And that was inspiration, wasn't it, for the book?
Yeah. Yeah, yes. It was that impetus idea of two dogs, one family does everything
correctly,
comes right, one family does everything not so correctly, and then how they both work out. Yeah, and it's quite powerful. I mean, if I do say so myself, it's a powerful like vehicle for that story, I think, because it's easy to for us as trainers to see when things have gone wrong. Like a lot of the time we see when dogs have gone wrong, but it's not so easy for people, if it's a first dog, to know that how this could turn out, you know, because it seems logical when you know, but sometimes when you don't know, and there's an interesting conversation to have here about parenting as well, because we haven't got kids. And I think, when I say we, me and Corin, but I think it's really difficult because you do get that monkey see monkey. You sort about Chip there. You get that monkey see monkey do thing, don't you? So much, and the amount of times kids have grassed up their parents by doing what they obviously are doing at home in puppy classes, and you see them go no, like, you know, or patting them on or giving them a whack on the bum. I've seen that before, and they're only learning that from one place, aren't they? Let's be honest.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. I'd say I think the Jack and Billy book was it was twofold, wasn't it? It was a children's book designed to talk to children, because I've seen so many wonderful children trainers, so many in classes, and I think a lot of people shy away from having families at classes quite often, and that was one thing that Scallywags never did. And I think that inspired me to go forth and carry that on. It's not always easy, obviously, with kids. We got a great story about a child that decided to climb. we did classes in this venue that had like a climbing wall, or basically 4 of the walls were climbing walls. And this little boy came along, and he was only how old was he?
3, I think.
He was 3, but he was part gibbon. I've never seen anything like it. He was up. He was like 3/4 of the way up this wall before you could even even blink. And
he was a relation of mine.
yes,
I went over like all innocent, people normally say I'm quite good with kids, so I was like, I'll go over, I'll communicate. I was like, how about we draw a picture of the dog, and I'm sat there, and he's like, nah, bye. I'm like, hey, go back down.
so it can definitely be challenging, but also some children are just most children are really, really empathetic to animals, aren't they?
They are, yeah.
Almost from the dot, but they can be really, really good with dogs. Really, really good with dogs.
But your story was totally meant to speak to the adults as well, wasn't it? It's like a family learning.
Yeah, we kind of hoped, didn't we, that we would pretend it was for children, so that we weren't telling the adults this is how you should do it, but that they were learning it when they were reading it to their children. That was one of the objectives of the book.
That was the idea. And I had that image in. I know we got a couple of videos and things sent to us when we first released it that were really cool. Of people reading it, kids reading it, and photos of people reading it. It was really wonderful. Really, really wonderful. So, So, if you were going to advise someone, I mean, this is a huge question, but if you were going to advise someone that's got a puppy and got children, where would you start there? Where would you go?
Oh gosh, I suppose it's probably not what they want to hear, but I'd always recommend that you have the facilities to separate puppies and children, especially toddlers, because they're both, both of them need to learn, and they can learn the wrong things, can't they, if you just stick them together. And lots of supervision. But the relationship between a puppy and a child can be just lovely, really, really nice. But it all goes wrong when you've got a playful puppy and a child running about or even calling about. It can all go very, very wrong. So it's just lots and lots of supervision. I really like I can't remember her name, Madeline, who wrote don't let your babies get magnetized to your dog. Madeline, what's her name? Can you remember?
No, but she was the Dogs and Babies blog, wasn't she, back in the day?
Really, really love her.
It's all about magnetizing, yeah.
I really love her blogs, and I always tell people to read it. And she's got a picture of a child sat next to a dog, both looking happy but not necessarily touching each other, and that's kind of, I think, how it should be initially. You teach, you have to, people want to teach their toddler how to stroke the dog. I don't think a toddler needs to learn how to stroke a dog, because they're still going to grab and pull, and so I think the toddler just needs to learn to be quite neutral to the dog initially. I hope that's right. I don't know whether that's what you would give.
I think the internet is quite in love with the idea of the kid and dog relationship, which, like you said, can be wonderful and lovely. But I think I even see people that I know and love sharing pictures, and I'm like, oh man, that's just a bit too close to comfort.
Cute pictures of dogs, and children, not quite so cute.
Yeah, I heard someone talk about this the other day, and it really, really spoke to me. The idea of when you get in a situation, like you might have gone. We did quite a few of our work meetings at Starbucks when me and Corinne lived in Southampton, and invariably at some point during that 3-hour work meeting, a family would come in that got kids and they got a dog, and then suddenly you're watching the dog's body language, you're watching the kids, the parents are having their coffees and maybe not watching so much, and your heart rate's going up, and you're like, oh my God, this is just a dog bite waiting to happen, and you're like, should I say something? And it's a horrible experience when you kind of understand dog behavior. But then it's also, in a way, kind of, and not that you should ever just leave this to chance, by the way, I'm not saying that, but it's almost testament to how amazing dogs are, because they are doing so much to avoid that conflict. And the child is obviously, because they're a kid, not picking up on those signs that the dog might be struggling with the way they're handling them or pulling them around on a lead. That's another one.
Yeah.
Kids with dog leads. Oh my god. Just don't give them. Do, but heavily supervised. You know, like you said, not give your dog the dog's lead and then go on your phone and have a coffee. That's just
my little niece always wants to hold the dog lead, and we've got a good thing going where I hold the lead that's attached to the dog and she holds the lead that's attached to me.
Brilliant idea.
So if anyone gets yanked around, it's me.
I used to do that with my children. I think I put a second lead on the dog, but it was a little bit longer than mine.
Yeah. Did anyone ever have actual reins when they were kids? Like,
yes.
I had reins when I was a kid.
Yeah, I think I might have done. I still got lost in Harrods in London and picked up by the police when I was 2. But
Oh, really?
Mind you, if you're going to get lost somewhere, you know what I mean?
my children didn't have them. But then we lived out in the middle of nowhere anyway, so I couldn't lose them if I wanted to.
I still say dog things as well about my nieces. So, like, I'll say, "Oh, let's walk down there, and then we can go to the park, and they can go off lead."
I have definitely made kissy noises at kids
Oh,
as well.
I do that all the time.
Trying to interrupt certain behaviours of their attention.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I don't know that's appropriate.
Hey, it's just sound science behind that, I think.
Yeah.
So, what's your fondest memory of Scallywags?
Oh, God.
And you don't have to say me. You can just skate past that bit. You can say Nat if you like.
I know.
Oh, there would be so many that I've probably forgotten. But I suppose just being able to help people.
Yeah.
And of course, you guys coming along as joining with your first dogs, and look where you've ended up. I'm very, very proud of you lot. And Jo's got her own business now.
I know.
So that's kind of, if you'd have asked me my proudest at the moment, that would have been it. But fondest, there must be very, very many, very, very many dogs that we've helped, and people coming back with their second dog.
Yeah. One of my favourite things about Scallywags was the companion club.
Oh, yeah, that was good fun, wasn't
I think that was testament to how brilliant Scallywags was, because you had it was an open class, which, you know, you could just come, you paid like once, basically, well, not once, but every time you came. And there were people there that had been there. Well, there were people there that had been in Companion Club the whole time I was at Scallywags. I think there were probably people there.
No.
I used to love coming with Scooby. I used to come on a Saturday with Scooby whilst you were working, and then I would be involved with Scoobs.
I just used to love it, and it used to get quite difficult to think up for things for people to do in the end, because there was like a bronze, a silver, a gold, a platinum, God knows whatever precious metal you could like maybe come up with that was the next stage. But the beautiful thing was those people had such a wonderful relationship with their dogs, and if you've been working with someone for that long, you had a really good working relationship with them as well. And you could be a bit more cheeky with them, a little bit like blunter, and it was a real family of people in that class. Yeah,
it was good fun. Yeah, definitely. And the puppy romp, I used to love the puppy romp, because we had so many puppies there. And if you said to somebody, "Oh, I did a puppy romp today and we had 50 puppies," people would be horrified. But we had 10 staff, 6 publics. Yeah, it was just amazing. It's just such a lovely, lovely thing to watch.
I used to stand on the gate to let the people in for puppy romp when I was working there, and one day I counted 65 cars. 65 cars in.
Really?
Yeah, one day I counted them in.
People came from miles for our puppy romps.
I really did. And we never knew who was going to turn up, did we? So I always remember we'd all be stood around just waiting for the cars to turn up, and on a busy day it'd be like, oh my goodness, strap yourselves in, here we go.
Yeah, but it was was good. We had a quick assessment of puppies. We had tiny puppies, shy puppies, naughty puppies. We only ever had one puppy that couldn't be with any other puppies one day. And I think the owner got quite offended, didn't they? But I kept beating everybody up. So, but, yeah, it was good.
Was that a little shepherd puppy?
Oh, it might have been shepherd, yeah. Might have been.
I remember there were always like straddly puppies that were in between two groups, so they were a bit overwhelmed in one group, but they were a bit too big for their boots in another group, and you just end up just chucking them out, chucking them back in, chucking them out.
I also remember we had one very, very shy Great Dane puppy once, and we put her in with a couple of Chihuahuas. She was brilliant.
Yeah,
and it's kind of the beginning of, you know, her gaining her confidence. That was funny. And the Chihuahuas were going, "Oh, blimey, look at you!"
That was when we were doing more dog training back in Southampton. That was my absolute favourite thing to do, is the puppy socialisation. I just love watching the dogs come out of their shell and the conversations that they're having. It's just wonderful.
Yeah, and also stress that a lot of it was be around other dogs, but be with your owner. It wasn't. It wasn't just being with other dogs. It was the other dogs are there, but my owner is more fun.
Yeah. And your lovely Lucy would be there as well. She'd be there as like, she was amazing. She'd just be there as a nice, stable influence to the puppies, and happy to hoover up any treats that anyone dropped at any moment.
All the adult dogs that ever came to our puppy socialisation were there for the same thing. They were like, I'm coming, but there better be some biscuits in it.
Yeah, it was a huge class. And really, really well run. And it was. I was always out in the big field with the hooligans. I never got to play with the. And that continued when I actually had my own dog training business as well, because someone over there got to play with all the young cute ones.
Oh dear.
So, looking at the time, we've kept you for nearly an hour.
And Don's home with the dogs. Can you hear them puffing in the background?
I can't hear him, but say hello to Don for us.
Hello. Yeah, hi Don.
Oh, he's gone again now.
I was saying in the little intro that I worked with Don once on a building project that he was doing, and I've never felt more inadequate in all my life.
Oh, yeah, I do remember you are helping him or something. What was that?
I don't know if I actually helped at all, I'll be honest with you. I think he just took pity on me, gave me a job. I remember once I had to move like half a ton of sand, like 2 foot. There's like a pile there, and they wanted to pile over there. And as I was doing that, I was like, have they just given me this job?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But I did learn how to shovel.
Yeah, well done.
Which is coming very handy now, living in rural Wales. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on to this. Obviously, you've been a massive inspiration for all of us here.
Yeah, thank you, Sally.
And what you've achieved is absolutely incredible, and we will do version 2, second edition of Jack and Billy.
We will, yeah. And, well, now you live in Wales, but that said, you are still further away than you were when you were in Southampton.
You need to meet in the middle somewhere.
Somewhere in the middle.
A nice day out in the Brackens.
Yeah, in the Brackens. We can travel out. But that would be lovely. That would be absolutely brilliant. Okay, so we have a tradition on Barks on the Bookshelf, which is we do a fake buy, at which point we stop recording, but don't sign out when we do our fake buy, because then we'll do a real buy afterwards, yeah? Okay. Everyone ready? Oh, we need to get a photograph as well.
I'll do a photo as we say goodbye. So smile, everybody.
Ready?
Okay.
Fake buy.
Goodbye.
Hey! Barks from the bookshelf, and we're gonna learn about our dogs. And barks from the bookshelf, and we're gonna learn together. Barks from the bookshelf, we're gonna learn about our dogs. And barks from the bookshelf, check out